thank you. I'm not even George. Okay, so yes, we have Discord. You guys can have questions there, and we can ask them off of there instead of standing up this typical way. We're not going to be asking any questions about the show, unfortunately, but you get to learn some things you probably didn't know before you came in today. So that's the one positive to that. So without further ado, please put your hands together for George Takei.
It is cold in here.
It's very cold, very cold.
I'm going to put my pants on.
Oh my. Okay. Remember that one year that I was moderating here at DragonCon and some fan said something very funny and it elicited an oh my. It should have elicited an oh my from you first, but I beat you to the punch. And I said oh my, like you, and you looked at me and you went, now. That's my line. And I was like, I'm sorry.
You've taken all my lines.
I don't want to take your lines, but I respect you so much. That's why I impersonate you and do your voice, your accent. But more importantly, whenever you do conventions, typically you don't need a moderator. And it's in your contract where no moderator at all. But then they find out it's me. And George's like, oh, it's Garrett. That's all right. I'll accept only Garrett. So I'm so proud to be here. So thank you for allowing me to moderate the panel.
Because I knew you, or I saw you, when you first made your theatrical debut.
That's right.
At my old alma mater, UCLA.
Yes.
They were doing a play on the internment of Japanese Americans, and it starred my dear friend Noble McCarthy. And here I saw this young man playing her son in an internment camp, and that's when I said, that young man is going to become a fine actor, and here you are.
I thought you were going to say, that young man is going to moderate me someday. And here you are. Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to do. Well, let's just start off right off the bat. I mean, you were born in California, is that right?
In Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles itself. You were a native-bred Los Angelino, right?
I'm a native Angelino,
Yeah.
but I started my college career as a Californian at the University of California at Berkeley, the mother university.
Yes. You went to Berkeley first.
And I was an architecture student there.
Really?
Because my father wanted me to be an architect.
Oh, well, really? Okay,
I
that's
was a good son.
Yes, you were a good son.
But UCLA had a better theater arts department. And
You transferred.
after 2 years as an architecture student at Berkeley, which I loved,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful, wonderful campus.
It is.
But I won, and I was back in my hometown at UCLA.
UCLA.
When the UCLA's theater arts department wasn't the theater that you were in.
Right.
We were all, back then, a series of World War II temporary bungalows. Our classes were there. The campus today there did not exist.
Right.
All the theaters.
Right.
They existed after I graduated. And then I came back to see a play, and there you were.
On stage.
The next generation. Actually, the Voyager generation. But my viewpoint, you're the next.
Yes, anyone behind you is the next generation. We get that, for sure. But I remember doing the play.
You're my grand generation.
Right? The grand...
And there are other generations.
There are. After
It's
me.
been around for 57 years now.
I know.
Years now.
I know.
And so I have so many great-great-great-grandchildren running around all
Oh
over
my
the planet.
Great-grandchildren just running all over. Okay, so I'm part of the grandchildren era.
You are.
I am.
That's
Okay.
all the spin-off shows.
Yes, that is... away from George. He'd be like, oh.
I said, what's that boy staring off into the audience? He's supposed to be acting.
Okay, to my defense, I'm just going to say, you're the only person on TV that was Asian that spoke with a normal American, like an English accent. Like, you were the only role model I had. So to see you there, I was like, it's him! He's at my play! And I think he's looking at me! So, yeah, I absolutely loved it. So, but then when after the internment ended, so what grade were you in at that point then? You were probably still primary school, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And because my education was interrupted,
Yeah.
I began normal school in the second grade. I was 9 years old.
Oh, wow. So delayed.
Yes.
You were the oldest second grader, essentially.
Oldest second grader, but that was Mrs. Lewis.
Ms. Lewis, you remember her name?
I remember her name, and I remember her class, and I remember, well, I loved her because she liked me. She assigned me to draw the poster for Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
And I did that whole poster.
Yeah.
And then we had a Thanksgiving pageant, and she cast me in my first acting role.
Oh, what were you playing?
It was a Thanksgiving pageant.
Yeah.
And I was cast as the Indian chief who greeted all the pilgrims.
Wow.
And I still remember the very first line that I uttered in my acting career.
Please.
That was the beginning of my acting career.
Please share these lines
I
with
still
us.
remember.
Okay, lay it on us.
I came on stage, and here were these pilgrims, and they approached me, and I said, Yohei, yohei, mitakula na bumpu, om nichi ni chopi. I should have done it like this.
You should have. So, what does that translate to anything, what you just said?
Who knows?
Okay.
But it was my first acting role, and I diligently memorized every syllable of it as Mrs. Lewis said it.
Right.
So I got her accent. It may not be accurate,
But you copied the way she said it
authentic
exactly. Yeah.
Mrs. Lewis.
Ms. Lewis's fake native tongue that she came up with. I love it. I mean, so that was your first acting, right there. Okay. Did you do plays in junior high, high school? Did you do anything there, or no?
No, because there was no role for me. The high school play musical that they did was Brigadoon.
Yeah.
And I don't think in this mystical Scottish village, they had people that looked like me.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. In my high school, when they were casting for Oklahoma, I go, they're not going to cast me. They're just not going to cast me. So I understand.
What was the play that they were doing when you were in high school?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma?
And I was, or they did Our Town as well, and I was like, I'm not going to.
You look like an Indian.
I could be for that, right?
I'll teach you your first line.
Thank you. I'm ready for that first line. But when they were doing Brigadoon, you should have had Miss Lewis come in and talk on your behalf. She made a.
This was in high school.
I know, but Miss Lewis could have.
Second grade.
I get it. But she could have come in and said, "Listen, he's a really good greeter of pilgrims. You should watch. He can speak these words like backwards and forwards. Come, maybe she could have helped you. I don't know. No.
I think most of my teachers are now dead.
Yeah.
You're so young.
Can I just use that line from now on? I think most of my teachers are now dead. That's going to be my calling card. That's going to be my ringtone, actually, whenever you call me, George. That is
So many of my castmates from the
Yes.
Star Trek.
That's why
now gone.
I know. That's why we're so happy that you are not gone. That you are here with us. Oh my gosh. Okay. UC Berkeley, moving on to UCLA. UCLA, drama department, not the same drama department that I was at, but the beginnings, the seeds of a drama department at UCLA.
Professors were still there.
Yes, the professors were still there. But what was your first? Did you right after graduation? Did you start looking for a talent agent at that point immediately, or did you train more and do some theater? What happened there?
You know, I had a very unusual set of beginning for an actor. I was, as I said, up at Berkeley as a diligent, studious architecture student. I came back down for summer vacation to Los Angeles. And you're a Californian too. I checked up on you before I came. I looked you up and you're in Wikipedia.
I am in Wikipedia, yes.
You were born in Riverside, California.
That's right, Inland Empire.
And the congressman congressman from that area is a personal friend of mine.
Really?
I campaigned for him when he first ran.
Awesome.
Mark Takei.
Okay. Yeah.
And he didn't make it. And
but then you helped him in his second campaign, and your opening line was, "Most of my teachers are dead." And for some reason, that got everybody. They were like, "We're going to vote for this guy." Like, he got it.
well, he ran a second time, and he didn't make it again.
Oh.
But he waited 10 years.
Yes.
He became a professor at Cal State.
Okay.
And then he ran again because it was a whole different ball game, different competitors.
Correct.
And he won.
Finally won.
And he's now representing your old birth district.
That's amazing. Thank
Riverside, California.
Thank you for
So
sharing.
you're a fellow Californian.
I am a fellow Californian with you, and fellow UCLA alumnus. So there you go.
A Bruin.
A Bruin, a UCLA Bruin.
I used to be a Bear
Yes.
up at Berkeley.
Yes.
And became
Go
a
Bears.
Bruin.
Became Bruin later.
UCLA.
That's right. That's right.
Well, anyway,
Yes.
back to
What happened after you graduated exactly?
yes, I came back for summer vacation.
Sure.
And I decided I'm going to have my man-to-man discussion with my father. I said, I love architecture, I'm getting good grades, but my real passion is acting. He knew that because I used to go downtown and usher at the downtown theater, Biltmore Theater, to see all the out-of-town trial.
Oh, okay.
That came.
Yeah.
And so he knew that I loved the theater.
Yeah.
And I said, that's my real passion.
Yeah.
And as much as I love architecture, I can't see myself 10 years down the road working in an architecture office.
Yeah.
My heart is in theater. I would like to study theater arts.
How did he take that news?
Well, I said, I would like to study acting at the Actors Studio in New York. That's where all the great ones are coming from. Marlon Brando, Montgomery Clift, James Dean. And my father said, yes, it's all right. But, you know, there's something I know about the Actors Studio. You can finish there, and they won't give you a diploma that says you're legitimately educated.
Right.
You just finished Actors Studio.
Yeah.
Your mother and I want you to have that documentation that you're an educated person.
Very Asian parenting.
Very Asian. Oh, my parents were very
Yes,
Asian.
they
And I know your parents were very Asian.
They're very Asian too.
And so he said, here in town at UCLA, they have a fine theater arts department. And if you should finish there, they would give you that documentation that your mother and I want you to have. You go to UCLA and work for that documentation, and we'll approve that. If you want to go to New York and study, that's a well-respected school. But if you go there, you have to be prepared to do it all on your own. However, if you go to UCLA, you'll have subsidy. So you decide, UCLA with subsidy or New York on your own. I pondered for a while.
And then you said, go Bruins.
I said, I'll go with the subsidy.
Subsidy's always good. Yes.
And as it turned out, it was, because I won the Best Supporting Actor award two years in a row.
Yeah.
The Bellingham Society.
So did you start auditioning right after you graduated UCLA? Did you start going on auditions at that point with an agent? How did that happen?
As a matter of fact, again, my father proved to be right.
Okay.
I was seen in a production at UCLA. As a matter of fact, it was Bertolt Brecht's Good Women of Szechuan.
Oh, nice.
And in the audience was casting director of Integrity. Oh gee, I'm blanking out his name. He became my mentor of sorts. He saw me in that, and one day I was walking from class to class, and one of my classmates says, oh, there's a note for you up at the theater arts office that says you're supposed to call Warner Brothers Studio. And I said, get off. I thought he was pulling my leg.
Yeah.
He said, no, I mean it.
Yeah.
And there was another classmate that, Lola, isn't there a sign, a note? And she said, oh yeah. And so I kind of, with tongue in cheek, I said, all right, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I stopped by the office, and sure enough, there was a note from, what is his name? Oh dear, I owe so much to him. And it said, call me. I did have an agent by that time, because I met this man, and he said, I'm an agent. And I said, oh, would you be my agent? And I didn't know him from Adam.
Yeah.
But he knew him from my father, apparently. He used to be a beer salesman. And my father had a grocery store.
I love it.
And
from beer salesman to talent agent. That's usually the career path most people take. So, okay.
And so when I got that note,
You had an agent to talk to.
No, I said, may I borrow your phone? In those days,
Yeah.
we didn't have a phone in our
That's
pocket.
right. There were no cell phones then.
And
Yes.
so they said I could. They put that machine on the counter.
That machine. Yeah.
It's called digital.
The youngins here are like,
What is he doing?
why are their fingers going in circles? What the heck is that? Okay.
That's the way we did.
That's what you did it back then. Yeah.
Now you go like,
Yeah, that's right.
No. How'd that happen? No, I said, oh yeah, I'd like to call my agent.
Yeah.
And the people in that office kind of looked at each other.
His agent. Yes. Wow. How sheeshy of him. Okay. Yes. Student has an agent. Yes.
And I talked to him. His name is Fred.
Yeah.
And I asked him to check this out. Here's this phone number here.
Yeah.
And I hung up and I said, thank you, and I left. And I'm sure they were all having a good laugh about that. Student, right. As it turned out, it was that man who saw me in that play at UCLA, Good Woman of Szechuan. And he's from Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And he said the director of this new film would like to see you. And so I went in and interviewed. It was an epic novel by Edna Ferber. She was one of those writers that did 3 generation stories about, like Giant was about Texas,
Right.
and Centennial was about Colorado.
Yeah, multi-generation.
Multi-generation. And Ice Palace was a novel, and it was about Alaska.
Okay.
And it turns out there's a role for a Chinese cannery, fish cannery worker in Alaska. And they had the other guy, the lead, cast already. It was Richard Burton.
Oh, wow. Richard Burton was...
That's exactly what I said.
I'm sure you
Oh, wow.
Big name at that point, that's for sure. Yeah.
This British Shakespearean actor.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in his pre-Elizabethan period.
The things you
That's
learn
how
here
far
at
back.
DragonCon. Yeah. Elizabethan. Okay. Keep going.
You know what that means?
I do. Yeah.
Shakespeare wrote the Elizabethan period.
Long time ago.
Elizabeth the First.
Yes.
Not the second.
Not the second, the very first one, yes.
And so I really wanted to do the play. And they said, well, it ages from 17 to the 70s. So we want to make sure, you look too blooming young. We want to make sure the makeup can make you believably in the 70s.
So they did a makeup test on you then?
They had to do a makeup test on me.
Yeah.
And it was painful.
Ooh, the test itself, yeah.
The makeup.
Oh, painful makeup. Okay.
You went into that room, and there were two makeup men. One was a famous makeup man, George Bow, generational makeup man.
Right.
And the guy was a big, heavy, tall, hefty-looking guy. And when it came to doing this part of my head, he had him hold my skin apart like
Really tight, yeah.
And he dabbed this liquid
Acid?
that was
You told me it was painful, I'm just wondering what that, yes.
a liquid rubber type thing.
To spirit gum.
Yes,
To be able to,
latex.
yeah, to affix the stuff on there, yes.
And the guy really pulled hard.
Yeah, you don't have to do that for us, right? Please, let me show you exactly how hard he pulled. I'm like, no!
There's more to it though.
Yeah.
And the skin has to be taut.
Right, in order for them to apply
And
that.
then, powders it,
Oh gosh, yes.
sucks up all the moisture.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting to prickle.
Right, dry.
Very dry.
Yeah.
And then he gets a hair blower and
Blows
blows
it on top of that.
And my skin is, stretched like that.
Yeah.
And then he says, hold it like that for 3 minutes.
Oh.
Let go. And he let go and bam!
Like a rubber band.
Oh, it was
Oh, that's not good.
And my eyes were full of tears.
I'm sure they were.
Oh, it was so painful.
Yeah.
And then they finished the makeup.
Yeah.
And I went to the sound stage, and there they were. He interviewed me.
Sure.
The director interviewed me, and I chit-chatted, and it was.
Did you get the role?
Don't go to the punchline, so I'm building. You as an actor, you gotta learn how to build the story. And then you suck it.
My apologies. Please continue.
And he, the director said, "Oh, that's fine." And he called the producer,
Yeah.
came down, and he was amazed. He said, "My God, he's even got tears in his eyes."
So realistic.
And he's praising the makeup. I'm the one that's hurting all over. And he's just, he doesn't say anything about my. He's praising the director and the makeup man on the wonderful job.
Oh my God.
And how you managed to get tears in his eyes. I got the part.
Oh, thank God. Tears. You need. God. Oh my God.
And all my scenes, and I got 2 weeks on location in Alaska.
Yeah.
And 2 months back at the studio.
Oh.
And 2 weeks of that at the studio was with that
makeup,
makeup
paint makeup, yeah.
And but the real gift of that first feature film that I did was working with Richard Burton.
Oh, of course.
Here we were in far-off Alaska, in a small fishing village, and working in the cannery at the end of the pier, all day long. And then, and so there were no other actors, just the 2 of us. And so I got to know him well.
Right.
And I was full of questions. I mean, here's this legendary Shakespearean actor from London and New York Broadway, and now here in Hollywood. And I'm just, peppering him with questions.
You got to pick his brain.
And he was a great storyteller.
Oh, I bet.
And he regaled me with all these stories.
Yeah.
So we were a perfect combination.
Yeah.
I was full of questions, and egotistic Richard would love telling me all about his grand experiences. And so we did Alaska, and then he stayed on for the other Alaskan shoot. Came down, back down to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And
did he have a good sense of humor? Did Richard Burton have a good sense?
He had a wonderful sense of humor.
Good. So he could take.
He loved talking about himself.
Right. All right. But I think it would have been cute if, while you were filming, instead of saying your lines, you said your lines when you were greeting the pilgrims, just to that fake native tongue. Just
Tell
to
me.
Oh, I don't know it at all. No, I haven't memorized it, but I'm sure somebody here has.
Oh hey, mitakula napu.
Oh hey, Mr. Kalatumpu.
Not mitakula poop.
What is it? Not Mr. Kalapupu? What is it?
Napumpu.
Oh, Napumpu. Sorry. My apologies for saying Napupu.
Getting pretty fluent.
I am getting better. We have some questions from people. Can I ask you some questions here? Here we go. Oh, let's get. Let me do. No.
Thank you. My voice is getting a little mushy.
Okay, have a sip. Have a sip of agua. And now we have.
No. Yo puedo hablar español.
Oh.
It's not agua.
It's not agua.
It's agua.
Agua.
The G is silent.
Oh.
Agua. Do you speak a foreign language?
No, but that sounds like awa from Okay. Anyway.
Agua. Not awa.
I know.
Oh, these American accents.
I got it.
Agua. Now, si
I would just-
padre mexicano de Los Ángeles, ¿quién aquí habla español?
Not at all.
3 Spanish speakers.
Solamente in all of vast Argentina, only
No,
3.
there's cinco here. 4, 5, 6, yes. Okay. Yes.
Next is what?
7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. How about this one? How spicy do you like your food? If you enjoy spice, do you regret that decision the next day? I was supposed to read through these before I asked them, and I didn't. So the question is, how spicy do you like your food? Like when you're eating food?
And you will get that's a triple choice.
Well, the question is, if you do enjoy spice, do you regret it the next day? Meaning, as it comes.
Yes.
So it enters.
I know what you mean. Yes.
Okay. So, do you like spice?
I savor spice.
Oh.
Once. We don't go there.
The person who said that was Noklahoma is the name of the person. Instead of Oklahoma, Noklahoma said that. Wonderful question. Thank you.
What is that?
I'm looking at Discord. These are Discord. These are questions. This is a helpful sheet for moderators. If you draw a blank, these are the questions you can ask. Like,
we haven't drawn a blank.
no, we haven't, so we don't need to go to that. But this is from the fandom here asking, so I want to go to them.
Oh, somebody
Yeah,
here.
everyone in here these are all questions.
Who has to ask spicy questions?
Who asked spicy question here? Right there. There's Oklahoma. There they are. Stand up. Wave your hand. There it is. There they are. Hi. Now you know.
How spicy do you like your
Yeah,
food?
you like your spicy, huh? Tell us. Oh my goodness. Wife is even more spicy.
What'd she
Okay.
say?
Not as spicy as her wife, so.
Not spicy as Hawaii.
Nope. Not as spicy as her wife likes it. Wife. Not as spicy as Hawaii. Well, you know those Hawaiian islands. They're so spicy.
They can be. They tasted twice.
They can be, yes. Speaking of Hawaii and other places to travel to, what are Amethyst Andes asks you, what are your favorite places in the world to travel to? Favorite places in the world to travel to?
I love travel. And I love traveling to places where I've never been.
Yeah.
Boldly going where I've never been. I was stopped at as a young man. So I've explored. My parents were like that.
Yeah.
My parents went to Iran. My father was a collector of Persian rugs.
Oh, I did not know
They
this.
all came from Iran.
Yes.
The best ones.
Yes, the Iranians.
Silk ones. And they went to Iran to look at the villages where these fine rugs were made.
Wow.
And they went to the finest silk rugs came from a place called Isfahan. And they went to Isfahan and they were aghast. And my father came back saying, "I'll never buy an Isfahan rug because it's silk, tiny,
Yeah.
and they tie many knots.
Okay.
They use little boys to tie those knots, and by the time they're teenagers,
Their fingers
blind.
are, they're what?
They're blind.
They're blind. That's
Their
not,
eyes.
That's not good.
Not blind in their fingers, blind.
You, sir, have blind fingers. No, okay. Blind eyes, that's bad, yes, clearly.
And it was they were aghast at
The treatment of these children, basically, yeah, that's not good.
Blind. And so they went to places like Iran back then, and they went to Moscow back then.
Yeah, I've been there.
You have?
I have, yes.
I'll never go to Moscow.
Never?
Never.
Okay.
I'm firm against it.
Good against.
Absolutely.
I didn't go recently. This is a long, long time ago, so.
My parents went long, long time.
Yeah.
And they're much older than you. They were much older. I discovered you were born in 1966.
No, 68.
68.
Yes,
That's the
68.
second season. The third season.
Third season, the final season, yes.
And you were born.
I was born there, yeah. I'm 54 now, George. I turned 55 in December. I will be eligible for the senior discount at certain eateries at that point. So IHOP recognizes me as a senior in December. Great, yes, I'm so excited.
Take advantage of your.
Yes. One of the greatest moments is I watched you do a panel on the cruise convention. And you were talking about a wonderful experience you had at a hotel in, I think, Colorado or somewhere. And you were describing the shower. Do you remember this? Like, oh my God. So George is sitting there and he goes, and that shower, it was marvelous. And it was just how the pressure was just, it was the most savory description of a shower I've ever heard in my life. I was like, how does a man just, okay. It was a wondrous shower. It was marvelous.
Well, I'm staying at. They have glorious showers.
Glorious, exactly. That's a better word.
Umbrella.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, I like it.
It's a glorious.
So can you answer that question? What are your favorite places in the world to travel to? Like, where do you like to go?
Well, Brad wants to go to the South Pole.
Oh,
But I asked him, what do you know about
the South Pole. Yeah, what does he say?
Nothing. I said, why would you want to go where you know nothing about? I study about the places that I go to. Like we went to Machu Picchu.
Yes,
Peru.
and you did your due diligence and you studied about it and figured it out.
Yeah. And my parents, we went there partly because my parents went there.
Right.
And they came back raving. My father came back raving. My father does his own work. My mother is just
Go with the flow?
yeah, she kind of accompanies him.
Yes.
But that was when my father was, they discovered he had some heart problems. And that's a pretty high altitude.
Yeah.
So they went to Peru, but he couldn't go to Machu Picchu.
Because of his
Stayed
health.
in Lima. And my mother, who hadn't done her homework at all, went and came back and said it was wonderful. And they asked her, did you see how the big boulders were all fitted so neatly? They just fit without any
Mortar or anything.
or tools. And they got their boulders there with slave labor, human power up the Andes. And she said, yes, that was nice. My father said, nice? Did you see how they were going? And she said, well, it was very nice. And that's the way Brad is.
Oh, got it. Okay, perfect.
What do you know about the
South Pole. Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. We are out of time, but I have one last question for you. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received in your long, glorious, and marvelous life?
Long, glorious, and marvelous, is it?
Yes.
Well, there are many ups and downs.
Yes, there have
on that journey.
Yeah, I'm sure there have been.
And they weren't all glorious and marvelous, but you learn from each one of them.
That's right.
And your question was?
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received from a mentor or family member?
My real hero in my life was my father. He's the one that taught me about our democracy. I mean, he was the one that suffered the internment the most.
That's right.
I mean, it was horrific. Bank account was taken. He was yelled at, spat at.
Lost it all.
Yeah, complete, and then imprisoned on top of that. One outrage after another.
Yeah.
And yet, he was able to teach me about American democracy. He said, the ideals are noble ideals. And he loved to quote from Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And he said, they are shining ideals, but therein also lies the fault of a democracy. Because a government of, by, and for the people is the people's democracy. And people are human beings, and they make mistakes. And even a great president that he admired, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he said, even he was a human being, and he made a mistake. But when he was when he was a president in the 30s, this country was in a deep, painful depression, in the economic depression. The economy was down, people were jobless, homeless, hungry, lining up for a bowl of soup, a line that went out for a couple of miles. That's how broken this country was. The spirit of America was broken. And Roosevelt had to galvanize the people in order to bring the country up. And he said, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. But this same great man, when Pearl Harbor was bombed, it was a terrifying, horrific, destructive bombing. 2,400 people were killed. 8 major battleships were sunk. 130 aircrafts were destroyed. And he became fearful because he had the whole West Coast that was just like Pearl Harbor, open and vulnerable. And he became fearful. And he had hundreds of thousands of people that looked just like the people that bombed Pearl Harbor on the west coast of the United States. And he signed Executive Order 9066, which ordered all Japanese Americans with no charge, no trial, no due process. We were categorized as enemy alien, which was absolutely irrational. We weren't the enemy.
A fear-based decision entirely.
I was a 5-year-old kid, a 5-year-old American kid. And we weren't aliens. My mother was born in Sacramento, California. My father was a San Franciscan. The kids, the three of us, were born in Los Angeles. We weren't the enemy and we weren't aliens.
No.
And yet,
You were categorized as that.
that's what we were.
Yeah.
No trial, no due process, and put into barbed wire prison camps, sentry towers, machine guns pointed at us.
Oh, yeah.
With no evidence, no proof of anything.
Definitely a shameful part of American history.
And so he said, there is a responsibility when you have a government of the people. The people have to take on a citizen's responsibility. We, the people, have to be there engaged. And so he said, be active in student government, be active in society. I was a volunteer for the Red Cross whenever there were disasters. And when the Democratic Convention came to Los Angeles, my father took me to the Adlai Stevenson for President campaign headquarters. And that's when he introduced me to electoral politics. This is a people's government. And it's important that people take on the responsibilities of citizenship. And so that's how my father shaped who I became.
I love that. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands